Hi everybody, welcome back to another storytime video where we get nitty gritty and I talk about some of the abuse that I've survived from my narcissistic mom, abusive romantic relationships, the troubled teen institution, school, family, all the whole gambit. I have been on a roll today, so this is the third video in a row that I'm recording. And this one's going to be about body image, my relationship with food, body dysmorphia, and being body shamed as a young child by my narcissistic mom. So in this video, I took a bunch of notes on what I want to say because there's a whole saga to this, so I'm going to be looking at my phone to read some. And before I go into this video, I do want to say I already shared some of the topics that I'll be going over, so trigger warning. Watch this at your own discernment. But if you feel ready to listen to this, then it could be a powerful opportunity for you to have a mirror of someone who's lived through these things and sharing from an honest, grounded place how I've kind of alchemized and integrated some of these traumas and these abuses, because these things, I never really talked about, and I feel like it's super important to, because I just want to empower people. I just want to be a friend, and I just want to, keep perpetuating the narrative that you don't need to be ashamed for dealing with these things or for having gone through these things. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna just start off my list. I typed it out and I had it reorganized. I used ChatGPT to help me format some of the things that I'm gonna say and the flow and whatever, so I had it retype a list of things that I typed out to it. So I'm gonna kind of tell you chronologically what I went through in my childhood and up till now. I'm gonna be 28 in January. It's now October, so just in a few months, to give you an idea of my age and how long ago this was, and how these issues kind of have spanned throughout time. So I'm gonna start off with a bang. One of the most humiliating things that my mom did to shame my body was a time when I think I was 8 years old, 8 or 9. I was sitting at the table. We were having dinner. It was like a summer night or something. I was wearing a little t-shirt and shorts or something. My brother and my sister and my mom were all sitting around the table, and we were eating. And there was cottage cheese on the table, and we were having teriyaki chicken, which I didn't like. It was too salty and I didn't like the way it tasted then. But it was there. It was dinner. And like all of these narcissistic mom outbursts go, it always started with me being upset at something that she did or said to me that hurt me. And so that's what happened. And mind you, I was like an 8 or 9-year-old. I was upset. I was hurt. My feelings were hurt, and I must have made it known. And what she did was she took a piece of teriyaki chicken and she deliberately slapped every segment of my body with this piece of chicken. She slapped my forehead, both cheeks. I think she may have slapped my neck or my chest. She slapped my biceps, each of them. 1, 2. She slapped my thigh and the other thigh. And she picked up my shirt and she slapped my stomach with that piece of teriyaki chicken. And I was so devastatingly humiliated. Oh my God, so humiliated. And I still feel that leftover shame in my body a little bit when I think about it. It was just so traumatic. It was so traumatic. She loved humiliating me. And then my sister thought that it was a food fight, so she just laughed and picked up a handful of cottage cheese and threw it at me. But I don't blame her. She had her own whatever. Her intentions were stupid fun, but my mom's were humiliation. And I was so gutted. And I was already, when I was a little kid, I was ashamed of my stomach. Because when I was about 8 years old, I started to notice the way that my body and my hips were holding a little bit more fat because of the cortisol. That's what happens when your body is chronically pumping out cortisol. You tend to store more protective fat around the hips and the stomach and the organs and everything. And it's a brilliant survival strategy, but it also changes the way that, fat is distributed and your body is shaped. So from when I was 8 years old, I always had, a little bit more fat around my hips, and I was increasingly self-conscious about it. And my mom would shame me for that, and I'm pretty sure she slapped my stomach deliberately with chicken to humiliate me, specifically for being self-conscious about my little 8-year-old stomach. Like, what child should be self-conscious? None. What human should be self-conscious? None. Because we're flawless in our imperfection. It doesn't freaking matter what we look like. I mean, to an extent, but anyway, so she did that, and it was terrible. Another thing that she did, another memory I have, is I was like 8 years old around this time. I don't know the order of these memories so vividly, but I remember I was in her bedroom, like getting ready for school one morning or something, and I was trying on clothes, and I did not feel confident in anything I wore, anything I put on. And I was so ashamed of my own body. And my mom got in my face and she screamed at me. And I don't remember the words she was saying, but she was like, I think she maybe screamed like, well, then you need to go to the gym and go on a diet and blah, blah, blah. She was talking to me like I was some lazy, avoidant, negligent asshole who had a perfect life and was choosing to stay inside and on the couch and eat chips and cake all freaking day and needed to be brutally awakened to like change their lifestyle or whatever. I was a fucking 8-year-old, and she was literally berating me and just doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on my insecurity. So she just made it worse. She just encouraged me to hide with the way she treated me. And I remember also there was one day, I was 8 years old as well, and when I was in second grade, which is how old I was when I was 8, which was the grade I was in when I was 8, rather, I loved wearing tie-dye pants. And it was kind of like my uniform. Like, I thought they were cool, they were comfy, and I just felt so stylish wearing them. I was like, yeah, I can wear tie-dye pants and any color shirt I want with the pants, and I just loved them. I loved wearing my tie-dye pants. And I loved tie-dye as a kid. Artistically, the colors and the textures and the patterns, and, it's always organic, You're never going to get the same tie-dye, even if you do the same thing over and over. There's always going to be some nuance or some difference, and I love that as a kid. I always was observant about the colors and details and things like this. Had an eye for it. So I love my tie-dye pants, and I would always wear these like plain cotton t-shirts, long sleeve, short sleeve, whatever, as an 8-year-old. And one day I was at Old Navy with my mom looking at clothes, and I remember like trying on some shirts and feeling insecure about the way that they hugged my body, because I had cortisol fluff around my organs and my midsection was a little bit puffier than the rest of me. Even though if you look at pictures of me, it's like no one would even think anything about it. I was like a fit, normal looking, healthy looking child, but I felt insecure because I was taught to be insecure. And I was also stressed the fuck out, and I had cortisol overload that was changing the shape of my body and the way that my body stored fat and distributed fat, And so I just remember being at Old Navy and feeling so ashamed and self-conscious about the way that I looked. And my mom would say things like, well, you just need to go on a diet, or you just need to go to the gym, or just wear something different, or things that were always focused on controlling the outside and changing something that was wrong with me, instead of accepting and embracing my natural beauty. Okay, so that was how she taught me to have a relationship with my body. And it grew, and it just kind of got worse over time. And when I was a kid, growing up onward, because of my body dysmorphia that developed as an 8-year-old, I would avoid going to pool parties. I would avoid going to birthday parties. Like, I would avoid enjoying playing freely because I was afraid of the way that my body looked, or that like a bathing suit or clothes would fit me. So I would be too self-conscious to, play sports or like actually get in my body and like move, and feel myself. And, I lived on the beach pretty much most of my life. When I was in New York, when I was in Florida, I've always been within a few steps to a few minutes of a drive to the ocean. So it's a part of me. And when I lived in Florida, when I was a teenager, I was like 18 to 23, I lived in Florida. And yeah. And, I would go on the beach sometimes, and it took me a few years to get comfortable in my own skin, actually walking around the beach in a bathing suit. And I always felt insecure. I mean, it's one thing because I don't like a lot of the attention that I would get at that beach was really nasty, because there was a lot of like drunk people objectifying, catcalling, whatever. That is always disgusting, and I never want that. But aside from that, when I was comfortable, it was hard for me to just enjoy being in my body, because I was always hyper conscious of how it would move. And I would see these people playing volleyball or like swimming, jumping around, or doing yoga on the beach, and I'm like, I always felt like envy, and like those people look so comfortable in their bodies. But that was tough. That was tough for me. And so for that reason, I was always more comfortable being alone in nature, because I didn't have to think about judgments, and I was trained to worry about what people thought of me. So that was that. Another crazy wild thing is that with this whole, my mom pushing the narrative that like, I need to go on a diet, I need to start exercise, like, you don't talk that way, and that's not the solution for an 8-year-old who's healthy. I was healthy. You just need to teach me to love my body and introduce me to things that I love doing and nourish my passions, not tell me to fix my broken life by exercising and going on a diet. Like, yeah, healthy relationship with food and healthy activity levels are important for a kid, but a kid doesn't need to be told to go move their body. A kid is in motion, and it's your job as a parent to provide them outlets to channel that movement in ways that are healthy for them and ways that they enjoy. And in some ways, I did experience that later in life. I mean, when I was 10, I started horseback riding lessons because I begged for them since I was 8. Because I fell in love, and it was the only form of kind of movement that I fell in love with. So I did that for a while, and that was really super grounding, super amazing. Yeah. But anyway, young childhood, different story, forced to do activities that humiliated me. I remember there was one time my mom signed me up for this like HIIT class when I was like 11 or 12. And I felt humiliated going to it, because I was sent there because I needed to exercise, or I wasn't good enough, you know what I mean? Like, I really think it was her own twisted insecurity and feeling of ineptness, I don't know what word it is, with her own body, that she thought that, I need to produce a child who's like a master athlete, a master performer, to control something outside of me, or to control my lack of feeling my lack of a sense of power in my body. And I need to go push my 11-year-old to take a HIIT class that she never asked to do. She hates intense. I hate intense workouts like that. They actually stress me out more. And I've tried to do them, and I've tried to do like the, HIIT workouts and really intense strength stuff like that, and I can never sustain it because it just stresses me out. I prefer to rock climb. I prefer to hike. I prefer to dance my ass off for 5 hours straight. You know what I mean? I have my ways that I like moving. So anyway, she would just pressure me and treat me like I was some broken like athlete to be fixed or something. It was just weird. And then there was Weight Watchers. She worked there for a period of time, and she started making me go to the meetings. She kind of suggested what, I don't remember how it even became a thing, but she would like tell me that I should go to these meetings, and for some reason she acted like it was a good thing to do. And I was like 8 or 9 or 10. I was between the ages of 8 and 12. I was definitely younger than 12, I think. But she would send me these meetings, Weight Watchers, and I learned how to count my points, and I learned how to restrict my diet as soon as I was like 8, 9, 10. I was taught to control everything that I put in my body to an unhealthy extent. There was no healthy relationship with indulgence and discipline. Like, if we want dessert today, we should make sure that we eat some fiber too. If we want a cookie, we should make sure we eat something green today. Things like that. Or if we're having a bad day and we want some ice cream to cheer us up, that's great. We can have that treat. We can allow for indulgences. That was not my childhood. So yeah, she made me go to Weight Watchers, and it was just honestly just so perverted thinking about this in hindsight. There's no viable logic in my mind as to why a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, or 9-year-old should be sent to Weight Watchers, unless they're genuinely enthusiastic and are like passionate about nutrition and diet and have a healthy relationship with it. But the way that my mom was putting me into this, it was not healthy. It was more about control and about there's something wrong with my body and I need to do it. So that was that. There was another instance in my childhood where I would catch my mom eating these like snack cakes, like the Little Debbies or like the Devil Dogs or like Twinkies, those like snack cakes in the grocery aisle, and there's like a million different kinds of them, and they're just like every kid has them in their lunchbox, and you're like, oh, you want to trade? And it's like the most exciting thing for a kid, these like snack cakes, or like Little Bites or like whatever the kids had in their lunches, that I never had. I just got diet chips. I got fat-free everything. I got boring fruit, you know what I mean? Like, there was no fun snacks. I was always deprived of that when I was super, super little. And like, yeah, up until I was 8 years old when this happened. So I would always find my mom and my sister indulging these little snack cakes and chips and junk food, basically, together. And I remember one day I walked into the den. We had a den. It was like a TV room. And my mom and my sister were eating these little cakes. And I was like, why am I not included? Why are you guys eating this? When I walked in the room, they both started kind of like giggling and like as if they were, like, oh no, we got caught. And I was like, what? Like, where are they? Like, can I have one? And they just laughed and they didn't tell me anything. They hid their secret stash of treats from me. Even though I was their blood family, even though I was the daughter of one of them and the sister of another, they hid from me, and they always did. I always would find these like secret stashes of just like junk food. Like my sister had these like random jelly beans in her room one time. She was eating them. I'm like, where the fuck did you get those from? Why am I not a part of this? Why can I not indulge? And yeah. And so fast forward maybe a couple weeks, I don't know the time frame. We had a cleaning lady, like a maid, who would clean our house like once a week. And one day she told me in her Long Island accent, her name is Kelly, and she was like, you never believe what I found and where I found it. And she was like, I found a whole stash of chips in the dishwasher. I'd never seen anything like that before. And I was like, oh, the dishwasher. My family never used the dishwasher. I find it kind of ironic. I don't know why my mom paid for someone to clean her house every week, yet she preferred to hand wash dishes. I don't get that. The first time I used a dishwasher was in 2022 because I moved into a house on my own in New York that had a dishwasher. The first time I used it, I used dish soap, and that was a mistake. I had foam all over my kitchen floor, but I cleaned it, and then I got dishwashing pods, and I was like, this actually is a game changer. It saves hours of energy. So anyway, that happened to me because my childhood dishwasher was always filled with junk food, and it was like a novelty thing that also kind of felt embarrassing to me. Like, why do you do this? Why does your family do this? It's weird. You're weird. People would come over and I'd be like, do you want tea? Do you want snacks? And I would open the dishwasher and it would be full of stuff. I know people like store some things like in their ovens or whatever. Like my grandparents would keep like bags of chips in the oven. I don't know. I think some people do that, I guess. But anyway, Kelly said, oh, you'd never believe what's in the dishwasher. And so I went and I opened it up. And it was like, like rows and rows and rows of bags of chips and little cakes and all the freaking, like the entire grocery store junk food kids lunchbox snack aisle was in our dishwasher. And I was like, what? So I took a little bag of Doritos and I opened it up and I ate it and I walked over to my mom, and she was like, oh no, you found it or something. Like she was like, oh shit, like, oh, her secret was revealed. So yeah, I was taught that food is like an exclusive experience, and it wasn't allowed to enjoy it with my family. And she had a very twisted relationship with food. She was very restrictive about what us kids were served. Like for dinner, she always would have like a protein and a fiber and a starch and like maybe a fat as well. I don't know. She like went to school for nutrition. So I don't know. She was trying to feed us balanced. And I think in general it was like okay, but very like low effort, boring, whatever. Not the most exciting, for a kid, fish sticks and steamed broccoli, not the most exciting. Where's the sauce, where's the honey mustard? And like all of the dairy that she bought was always like skim milk and like fat free. And it's like, for me, I don't believe in doing fat free. If I'm eating dairy, it is full fat, and in fact, it's like double cream. It's like I have cottage cheese in the fridge right now that's 6%. Welcome to my videos where when I do hand signs, it makes little emote things. It's like I've said, it's not one of my videos if that doesn't happen. Anyway, food. So yeah, she was like a health nut. And, I have this weird, vivid memory of just like almonds in my mind, and how she would like, I guess she would give us almonds, and I hated almonds, but they were like healthy. Like, oh, you should eat this. Oh, if you're craving this, actually you need to eat this instead. She kind of programmed this into my mind where like if I was craving a certain food, I was forced to eat something healthy to like fill myself and eliminate the craving. But what if my body was actually craving a nutrient that was in the thing? What if it was craving, what if it needed the sugar, the glucose? What if it needed the fats? What if it needed whatever, the carbs, the starch? Like, what if it needed that little dopamine hit? You know what I mean? And I've learned to listen to that more now than I was taught in the past, but it just interrupted any chance at having an intuitive relationship with food that I could have had back then. Another weird thing that my mother did to mess with my body image and food shame me was when I was young, before I turned 8 years old, she would always restrict what I ate, and I was so desperate for junk food and just like flavorful indulgence. I just distinctly remember my entire childhood up until being 8 years old that I was deprived of indulgence. I never got dessert. I could never enjoy, like, even going out to eat sometimes, like, I never fully enjoyed what I was eating. I never could fully just indulge in just a dessert or like a moment here or there. I just remember that, like, craving and like that hunger constantly up until I was 8, when I discovered that dishwasher stash of junk food. And then after that period of time in my life, my mom caved in and she started buying me all the junk food that I wanted. And if you're a kid and you're eating junk food, you don't know how to take care of your body if you're not shown. So she would just buy all this crap, and I would buy like Gushers and like I don't know, like little microwave pizzas and like chips and cookies and like all the things that are not appropriate for daily diet eating. That's my laundry alarm. And so she started buying all the stuff, and I just like ate whatever I want whenever I wanted it all the time. And I became a little pudgy when I was in like elementary, like later, I don't know, middle school, I guess. But I grew into my body early in high school, but I enjoyed junk food. And my mom went from like health nut, obsessive, crazy, controlling, sending me to Weight Watchers, to like buying me McDonald's whenever I wanted as a kid. And there was always just so many mixed messages. It was she raised me on such an unhealthy relationship with food and with my body. And that's it. I'm gonna pause this and then continue after I get my laundry. Got my laundry, and the warmth of it is now radiating on my cat. It's a little chilly, but yeah. So anyway, back to my exposition. Is that what I can call this? I don't know. My video, whatever. One thing that I forgot to mention was, what was it? Yeah, so when I was a kid and I was hungry, I must have been in elementary school or middle school. So like 10 through 13, probably I would say more like 9 through 12, really, that age range. I would get hungry, or I wouldn't want to eat spaghetti for dinner, because it's not even nutritionally complete anyway, you know what I mean? And I don't want to, I'm already kind of defending me not wanting to eat spaghetti, because in my mind these voices are playing of people, saying just be grateful that you have food on your plate or whatever. Not everyone has food. And I get that. However, doesn't mean it's nutritionally complete. Doesn't mean that my body is not sending me signals that it needs something, or it's craving something, or it wants something that's not available. So what does a kid do who is born into the world, doesn't have a filter, and just naturally exists in alignment and in harmony with their nervous system and the signals that their nervous system sends them? They act on it. And in other words, they ask for what they want and they pursue what they want. Kids just do that. And so I knew what I wanted to eat and what I didn't want to eat. and what wasn't working for me or what wasn't satisfying me. And so when I would speak up about that or say, I want something different, or I'm hungry now and there's no food, you know what I mean? My mom would be like, the kitchen's closed after a certain, she would literally say the kitchen's closed after a certain time, or, you know, make spaghetti or just eat cereal. That was her go-to kind of thing. And it's like, it's not a valid placeholder for a kid who's not, you know, who's needing something specific, needing certain nutrition. You know, just because you're lazy and tired doesn't mean telling your kid to make spaghetti or make a bowl of cereal is a solution. You know what I mean? And it was just so inconsistent, her messaging and behavior around food and body image and things like that. And I mean, I would watch her see herself in the mirror, and, you know, she was ashamed of herself. I mean, especially later in life, I would see the way that she would criticize herself and would just talk down to herself and restrict herself. And, oh, here's another one I'm remembering. When I was a kid, damn, food and body image was such a twisted thing for her. And for me, consequently. Not so much now. Now I have a better relationship with food, and I'll get into that more. And my body. But my mom used to buy, like, cakes from Costco, like giant chocolate mousse cakes, or like birthday cakes. And literally what she would do is she would take bites and chew them and spit them out. She would literally buy whole ass cakes to chew and spit them out. She would never eat them. She never let herself indulge, is my point. And it was kind of funny because my sister, being the tactile, sensory person that she was, bless her soul, rest in peace, she committed suicide in 2015. Kira, bless her soul. But when she was alive, she would love to just, whenever my mom was done with, literally she would buy these cakes and she would take a few bites, spit them out, and then throw the whole cake away. And my sister afterwards would, like, just play with the cake like it was Play-Doh, and we had fun with that. That was nice. But yeah, my mom would do that. And again, with the, like, she always bought, like, the diet version of everything and, like, the fat-free version of everything. And it's like, there is an actual difference in quality and taste in something that has a artificial sweetener versus, like, pure honey or maple or cane sugar or agave, whatever sugar it is, or full fat or whatever. And in the more recent years, my mom, you know, would still count her points, and she would deny herself indulgences and binge. And I mean, she probably has an eating disorder. I think she definitely does, but she passed that on to me and her kids. And it wasn't even just, it was blatantly abusive, the way that she would shame my body and the way that she would just give me straight up whiplash around what to expect with food. And I never had an easy relationship with food. And that was that. I mean, there's probably so much more that I could say, so many little examples that just spill into my, like, everyday life as a kid. But now, I've shared a little bit about this on my page before, but earlier this year in January, I went through basically a near-death experience health flare-up where I left my body. I had this flare-up. I was overseas. I was in Benin in Africa earlier this year in January 2025. And I left my body and I completely was just gone, and I was so weak. I couldn't even hold my bowels together. I couldn't sit up. I remember I was laying down. I was having this flare up. I had a couple people around. I was having neurological symptoms. It was the worst flare up I'd ever had. My tongue was tingling. It went numb. My face was going numb. My body was going numb and tingling. Fast forward, lo and behold, it was a combination of parasites, immune suppression, toxicity, surprise, from the abuse, when I was younger. That's just how this shit works. And I've been cleaning it up. Look how vital my face looks. Look at this. I have done so much work. I've healed so much. I've healed full body eczema. I've healed migraines. I've gotten rid of thousands of parasites. I've seen them come out of me. They're still coming out. And this work is literally, I'm cleaning up a mess with the help of my practitioner that had been there since before I was born. Crazy. So, what was I saying? Health, parasites, food, weight, nowadays. Yeah, so I went through my flare-up earlier in January, and because I was so physically disabled and the parasites were literally eating all the nutrients of everything I was eating, I was insatiably hungry all the time, even when my stomach was like distended with how full I was from just eating nonstop all day. For some days it would fluctuate, and parasites have life cycles, and they're always more active during a full moon and at night, and yada yada. So it wreaked havoc. But I learned, I kind of was forced in a new, sad, weird way to put my body above every other thought, everything else, and let myself eat what I wanted to eat. And I did gain weight. And it went away. After a while. And my weight fluctuates. I am a woman. I am a dynamic, continually healing, growing body. I don't really have all my emotional needs available to me at all times. I don't have that support system fully in place the way that it should be, the way that I'm growing into. It's not even a me thing. It's just like my life. I haven't met the people I'm not at that phase in my life, I'm getting like this weird radiating pain thing here. And I do think that this is partially my body is just remembering like the stories that I'm talking about. So it's like, creates these little echoes of sensation and memory, and I'm holding something over here. It's weird. When I was a kid, I used to experience random pains, but none of it's random. It's all the body talking. And my amazing practitioner who genuinely saved my life, she's able to, also communicate and relate with every single symptom that I experience. Nothing is invalid, nothing is coming from nowhere, but that's what a gaslighter will not tell you. They'll make you think you're crazy, they'll medically gaslight you, whatever, but I don't have to deal with that anymore, and I get to advocate for people to actually hear their bodies now, because I've learned how to do that. But anyway, when I was going through this health stuff earlier this year, I really I let myself eat everything I wanted to eat and everything I needed to eat. And some days I ate enough for like 4 people. God, it was crazy. And so I learned to just accept my body to a deeper level. I'd already been, you know, in my own rhythm, not super consistent for years, but like a lot of months at a time I would be in a great rhythm, and then some periods, some weeks I would be, off or out of balance, or if I was traveling or going through heartbreak or whatever, this and that, like it kind of would influence and change the patterns of my eating. And it's only grown over time or gotten better over time. But yeah, so I deepened my acceptance and appreciation for my body, and I started viewing the shape of my body and my weight and my food choices as coming from a place of love and care for myself. That was it. That was number one priority. It didn't matter if it was a cupcake or a bowl of like whole food soup, you know what I mean? Chicken soup, like, or salad or whatever. It didn't matter what it was, as long as the intention was to take care of myself and to love myself, whether that meant eating something that's whole foods or eating something that's processed, but it's indulgent and it's a treat and it's soul food, you know what I mean? So I was in this place where I was like, the food, this, again, whether it's processed food or whole food, like it's survival and pleasure and sustenance and nourishment all in one. Like food is not just for survival. For some people, okay, yeah, it is, but not for me. Not for me. And doesn't make me ungrateful. But this is just the life that I live. These are the circumstances that I'm in. And I don't take that for granted, but it's reality. And I'm not going to, overlook it or anything. But yeah, food that's my relationship with food. It's all of those things. It's not, I don't eat to perform. I don't eat to create this image of myself. I am very passionate about health and cellular health and detoxing, and I learned the right way to do it, so I have a lot of education to share on those topics. And at the same time, I eat fast food from time to time. And especially this year, I feel like, I was driving to my, what was it? I think I was driving like a 2-hour drive back to my hotel like the other night or something, and I was hungry. I didn't take anything with me. I'm traveling right now. I'm in between places. I don't have a stable home. I have a microwave, a fridge, and a freezer, and I don't even always have a freezer everywhere I go, so I have to work with what I have. And it's not always easy. So the other day, I got DQ for the first time. I'd never gotten myself Dairy Queen before, and I got barbecue chicken with french fries and a blizzard. And I've never had those things before. I've had fast food, but I never specifically went DQ. So I was like, I want this and I'm going to have it. And it was like, I felt great. And actually, the next day, I felt great. I know sometimes, I don't know if this is like a typical, pattern that a lot of people experience, or if it was just with me. But, maybe it was because I was kind of conditioned to just be hyper vigilant about the way that my body looked. But I used to track, this is what I'm trying to say. I used to track the fluctuations of my weight from day to day based off what I ate the night before. And I would feel like I had to restrict or punish myself if I gained a pound. But usually it's from water retention or waste retention or whatever. It's not, you don't actually gain a pound of fat overnight. I don't think that's how it works. And yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of a nice moment for me, because I was like, I ate this fast food and I am reaffirming my health, myself, and my well-being, which includes, mentally and emotionally, your state of feeling and being. And your relationship with your food and your body and yourself. And so I ate this fast food, and I woke up the next day and I actually felt great. I felt embodied, I felt fit, I felt beautiful, I felt good. And that wasn't because of what I ate or didn't eat. It wasn't because of what I did exercise or didn't exercise. It wasn't because of how my body was shaped or not shaped. It was because of how I felt. It was because of my image of myself, you know? And when I was younger, going back again to this, my mom, I mean, with the Weight Watchers thing, my mom would track her weight every single day, and she would talk about how she like ate a bagel and she like gained like 5 pounds overnight or something, or, you know, just these things that weren't even consequential. They weren't even relevant to actual weight loss goals. It's like you can't judge what you ate the night before and your weight the next day. You can't weigh your ultimate weight goals off of that, because again, there's such a thing as water and salt retention and like poop, you know what I mean? Like, I've had days where I like eat bad and the next, like, my weight doesn't change, or it goes down a little bit, but or some days it goes up. Some days I eat healthy and then it goes up and I feel worse or whatever. It's like none of that shit is like real. It's so unhealthy to base your sense of identity and like worth and like your self-image off of your weight and off of what you eat. It's like, in general, do your best and listen to your body. Give your body what it needs. Build a relationship with your body. Learn your body's signals and learn how to respond to them. You know, no one can take your relationship with your body away from you. So let me just check my notes here to see if there's anything else that I had to say. Yeah, so yeah, I'm at a very good place right now with my body image and food and things like that. And I will say, when I'm super stressed out in moments like that, it's not the greatest. You know, my self-image or my confidence or whatever, it does dip. It's not like the stable thing, but overall, my like internal relationship landscape with these things are a lot better than what I was taught to, you know, for them to be. So anyway, I just wanted to share the story yet again to destigmatize and depathologize the reality of, you know, eating disorders, body dysmorphia and stuff. And I feel like there's so much shame around me even naming it as an eating disorder or body dysmorphia, because it's like, it's not, those things are just too often used as identification labels when it was passed down to me. And my mom's parents probably passed it down to her, or someone in her life or community or circle once upon a time made her believe that she wasn't good enough for looking how she looked or for eating what she ate. And she held that in. And then she passed it down to her kids. But it's not who she is. It's a curse. It is an evil spirit. That's genuinely what I think, you know, a lot of mental disorders are. They're just spirits, they're demons, they're entities, they're negative energies that literally infect your mind and try to control you and try to convince you that you are anything less than made in the image of God. I swear, this is my belief. It's not only belief, it's an experience. And mental illness is just kind of a name for the devil. It's a label, it's a version, it's a form that evil takes. And evil is just, it's bad energy, you know? It's kind of a shamanistic perspective, seeing things from a place of spirituality. You know, everything has a spirit, everything is animated. And I know that these disordered ways of, well, they are disordered, but these disordered ways of thinking and being and relating with the world and food and your body are not identities. They're lies that are just, if you're still dealing with them, maybe they're just deeply ingrained lies that you gotta untangle a little bit. You know, you gotta confront them. You gotta get honest with yourself. Where did this come from? Why do I still neglect myself the way that I was neglected? What am I afraid of? What am I not seeing? What am I forgetting about myself? What am I forgetting about my power and my beauty, my innate, intrinsic beauty? You know what I mean? Like, these are important questions to ask to kind of get over the ancestral karmic curses and inheritances that you're now carrying the weight of. But the good news is you don't have to carry the weight of them. And I hope that by sharing my story, I was able to provide some destigmatization and a little bit of freedom from the shackles of shame and comfort and friendship. And yeah, so thanks for watching this. Wasn't expecting it to get so long. If you want to share your stories or have any comments or want to request me to talk about something specific, then you're free to comment. And I would love to engage and learn how I could serve my community more. Whoever is meant to find this video, whoever this video is for, I want to be here for you, because I've been through all this life and I have all this wisdom and passion in me to share how I'm sharing, and I want to use it. So please, please call on me for that. And I'm sending you so much love, and I'll see you in the next one.